I still can't believe you're showing your face around here, Brown, Dave Paul snorted, as I walked in and sat down at the table I'd come to hate forever. He, of all people, knew what had happened on it before. You've had a rough night. Can you even afford to be here? He spoke harshly, but until a moment ago, things had been very different. When he first opened the hotel room door and saw it was me, he immediately tried to close it. It took me a while to convince him that I wouldn't be a problem. Not that any of them couldn't kick my ass. Well, all of them except Kenny. But they just wanted to play their game, and I assured him that's all I wanted too. It shows how little they thought of me that they let me in. I've always hated him. Nothing changes, does it? I loved that he was pushing 3 bills, not in a good way, and wearing a spectacular chignon that looked like a rodent. And we weren't even 30 yet. Leave him alone, Roger, another of the buddies, grinned. Look at the balls he's got. He's got serious problems with his wife in front of everyone, and he still shows up here. Probably wants revenge. There's no way he can concentrate. We'll have him out of here in 20 minutes. I knew what they were getting at. I only had $5,000 to buy. It was the bare minimum for this game. I had to do something sooner or I'd be gone soon. And I was very determined to do something about it. They say there are no such things as ugly children, but I respectfully disagree. My wife never wanted to show her baby pictures. Her school albums were at the bottom of a box in the attic. She didn't look much better in junior high, where we met, and she didn't look much better in high school either. She was always the ugly one in class and put up with crap all through her childhood. I remember. I was present for some of it. It was bad. Me? Well, I wasn't up to par back then either. People told me I looked like a curled-up Michael Keaton. The perception at the time was that Mr. Keaton already looked askew, and I just pushed the boundaries even further. I wasn't so much harassed as ignored, which was fine with me. Okay, not really, but what can you do? At least no one was hitting me. Besides, I had a really stupid name. I knew her only slightly enough to nod at her in the hallways, but Gloria and I had gotten to know each other really well in junior high when we worked on the school paper together. The student editor, an upperclassman, broke under pressure, and we were assigned as co-editors so we wouldn't overwork ourselves either. God, how hard we worked on that piece of crap. The two of us spent many long hours together, editing the submitted material, rewriting it, editing the submitted layout, redoing the layout, cropping the submitted photos, reshooting the photos. Basically, you get the idea. It became our baby, just our baby. Gloria and I often didn't leave school until after 11, and so late that our counselor sneaked us a key so we could lock ourselves in, which of course was forbidden. As I got to know her better, I realized that no matter what was going on, Gloria was the coolest girl I'd ever met. And not just because she was the only girl who talked to me. I wasn't an outcast or anything like that. She was alone a lot of the time, but she spent her time to her advantage. She knew everything, and she knew the answer to any question. Add to that the sharp mind and ability to read people that she inherited from her father. I thought she was wonderful, just wonderful. We were friends for a long time until we went to prom together. I don't think either of us realized we had feelings for each other. We just wanted to go and knew we wouldn't get there any other way. She didn't look good in her dress, and I didn't look good in my tuxedo, but we crossed the friendship line that night, and we have pictures to prove it, so there you go. I always thought we were meeting on an equal level, but in the locker room, I learned how people really feel. I heard Brad Wythe tell Dave Paul that I might be a retarded Michael Keaton, but Gloria just looked retarded. I clenched my fists when I heard it, but they were both athletes, royalty in high school, and either one of them could easily hurt me a lot, so she was left unprotected. When people finally noticed we were dating, those two became some of our worst detractors, especially Brad, who would point-blank ask me how I could stand to see her in public. I would have simply replied, "You don't know her. She's amazing." But in a way, they were right. I wasn't ashamed of her, but I knew that I was miles ahead of her in terms of attractiveness. I was a member of the water polo team for a reason, and my body was slender and muscular enough for girls to pay at least a little attention to me. So was I some kind of saint who didn't care about looks and was only impressed by inner beauty, some kind of sapiosexual? Hell no. Sure, I lusted after cheerleaders, especially the delightful Davida Delacour. In those days, you could call her skinny. Chekhov wrote that eyes and hair are salvation for unattractive women, but Gloria had short, too short, red hair, and she probably had beautiful eyes. Her complexion was mostly freckles, with occasional patches of skin showing through. But her teeth were so big, they practically distorted her entire face. "Just wait, you two," she was saying. "Just wait. I have a hunch." You never want your parents to be right, but in this case, we were right. She was absolutely right, but growing up took much longer than we had hoped. During the summer between her junior and senior year of college, Gloria underwent a transformation. She seemed to transform into a slender hourglass practically overnight. She later told me it was like growing pains and hurt like hell, but we both agreed it was worth it. But the most amazing change happened to her face. She wore braces for 6 years. But, and this is a big deal, after getting her braces off, LASIK surgery, and just as she got older, at the age of 21, she was suddenly able to give a young Anne Margaret a head start. I started to look really smart. All my friends and acquaintances told me that I must have known from the beginning what was in store for me, but I was as surprised as anyone. Gloria knew it and loved me for it. She was constantly being picked on, sometimes even when I was standing next to her. It was worth it if I just turned my head, but she just laughed when it happened. "You've got to be kidding," she'd say, snuggling up to me and kissing my neck. Yeah, life was good. We were already living together and engaged when all this happened, and neither of us wanted to change anything. We had planned to get married as soon as the first of us found a job after graduation. That's how it turned out, but things could have easily gone the other way. Life worked out pretty well for us. We rarely fought, and if we did, we fought honestly at first. We both chose successful careers and bought our first small house in just 3 years of marriage. It was difficult at first, but we got through it. We both agreed that while neither of us had ever slept with anyone else, we would never, ever cheat. It was a good thing. I don't think either of us could have taken the rejection. We both promised that we would be honest with each other if we suddenly felt uneasy. Nip it in the bud, so to speak. Her father, a recovering alcoholic, had been unabashedly cheating on her mother for years with many, many partners. Gloria loved him, but let's just say she had some pretty strong feelings about it, and I was in agreement with her. We got married at a young age. Why wait? And we were both happy to have found our one and only so early. She called me the hot husband, and I called her the wow wow wife. Don't ask. Nicknames are silly. The only stumbling block for us was Gloria's low tolerance for alcohol. She was definitely a cheap date. 2 beers and she was drunk off her ass. You'd think I'd take advantage of that, but if you had the real Gloria, the substitute, a sloppy noodle, would be no fun at all. This girl had skills. You wanted her to use them. I hoped it would be a wake-up call for her when I was waiting outside the restroom at the club for the second New Year's Eve in a row while she got sick. Nothing like ending the year listening through the door to your wife throwing up while everyone else counts down. Twice. I was furious, but to no avail. Things finally came to a head when she got behind the wheel drunk and lost her license for 6 months. The court insisted she attend AA meetings. She went with her father, who had been going there since she was born. It was a way for them to rebuild their relationship because by then he had been out of her life for a very long time. We were thankful that the DUI happened because it forced us to address some issues. Stop making yourself arrogant and powerful! It's the same as your stupid gambling, you idiot! She snapped at me once. There's no difference. Of course there is, I replied. I'm good at gambling. She didn't have one leg to stand on. I learned to play poker in my first statistics class in college, and when Texas Hold'em became a national craze, I made some money. Sorry, made money for the United States. We were living together by then, and my little hobby was sometimes the difference between meat and ramen that week. I never got a thank you, but she was more than willing to eat that chicken. As we got into our 20s, I noticed a change in her. We married young, thinking we'd have kids young too. We'd have so much energy in our mid-20s that we'd be able to run after them, and when they were gone, we'd be in our 40s and healthy enough to enjoy time together. No empty nest for us. But for several years now, she has resisted. At first, there was no good reason for it, at least not a permanent one. She wanted to advance at work. She wanted to spend more time just with us. She wanted to wait until she was more mature. And what about our nest? We have to travel first. Yada, yada, yada. Gloria never shied away from exploring, so when she decided she wanted to get in perfect shape for the reunion, her trips to our gym, we were members but rarely attended, became long and intense. She invited me along, but we both knew she didn't mean it. She knew I hated what she wore there and didn't want to watch her get hit on every 5 minutes. Instead, I found a crazy inside basketball game that more than raised my pulse. Her results were almost legendary. In a matter of weeks, she dropped a dress size. She was never out of shape, per se, she just tightened her already awesome awesomeness to perfection. But it wasn't for me. One day she left her laptop open when she was running late and needed to run for the shower. I saw that she was looking through Facebook at all the beautiful people who were going to the reunion. Hope Lanwell, Heidi Clemens, Brad and Davida Weed, Roger Mayhew, Dave Paul, all of them were from the crowd that gave her hell. They were all going to be there. I hoped that night she wouldn't embarrass herself, or me, too much, and could finally purge herself of the demons that were controlling her. Self-esteem is a harsh mistress. I noticed that she didn't meet my gaze as we drove back to our hometown before the reunion, a sure sign that something had happened that she didn't want to tell me about. It was the kind of behavior I remembered from her drunken days, and let me tell you, I wasn't wrong. You're going to really push her, aren't you? Push what? She asked, eyes wide and feigning innocence. But I wasn't fooled. As the weekend approached, she was becoming more and more taciturn with me. That had to mean something. What are you going to do tonight? Why don't you tell me what you have in mind? I can't answer your question if you don't understand. I can't read your mind. There was annoyance in her voice, which was another old tactic she used to get me on the defensive. She knew it always made me shut down to avoid confrontation. I'd already had enough of her, and I was in no mood for it. If she was going to manipulate me, she should have at least learned a few new tricks. You know exactly what I mean, I replied sharply. Why didn't you let me see your dress? Because I want to surprise you with how pretty I'm going to look, you idiot, she said playfully. Oh, I know how beautiful you are, I said. I'm proud of you. I don't mind you showing off. Good, she said, triumphant, because that's exactly what I'm going to do. But don't show off too much, okay? Define too much. I fell silent. Look, Rick, you know me. Have I ever embarrassed you? I was still silent, but I must have looked at her. I mean, other than this. God, she hissed. It's been 3 years. 3 years. You'd think I'd at least get something for that. Just tell me what you're going to do, I said. Well, Rick, she replied irritably, I'm not going to do anything, but I'm going to look amazing. I'm going to have fun, and they're all going to regret treating me so cruelly. Why? About what? Why should they regret it now? Why should they care? That was then. What difference does it make what you are now, 10 years later? Oh, Ricky, 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 she sang out. You know a lot about a lot of things, but you don't know women. They care, believe me. So you only want to impress women? I asked. Mostly, she replied, slightly defensive. Honey, you can't blame me for wanting to get a little revenge on the guys who got so ugly. You just can't. Are you happy with me, Gloria? I asked. Are you satisfied with our life? Oh, baby, she said, unbuckling her seatbelt and moving over to pull me against her. Is that what this is about? I love you. I love us. Don't ever doubt that. Yeah, but I've noticed there's no we in everything you say. It's all me and I, and now that I think about it, even more I. It's like you don't care that I'm around. Maybe it would be better for you if I just stayed home." "That's not true at all," she hissed, pulling away. "Oh, really?" I said coldly. "What am I going to wear tonight?" "What?" "You'd think you'd want your man to look good too, to make you proud of him, so we could make a great impression together, maybe even coordinate or something. But you have no idea, do you?" "But you look good in everything, dear. You know how to dress. I trust you. Please." There was silence for a few minutes. I could see the wheels turning. "So what are you wearing?" she finally asked. "None of your damn business," I hissed. "Fine," she said. "Truce, I deserve it." I remained silent. What was there to say? "Listen," she said, coming back into my space. "You don't know what it was like for me back then." "I think I do," I said reproachfully. "I think you've told me about it often enough. I think I've heard you talk about it at your meetings ad nauseum." "But you don't know," she insisted. "You think you do, but you don't." "I'm sick of you patronizing me," she continued, backing away from me as far as she could and huddling against the door. "Tired of it. I've been waiting for this night for years. I remember thinking about it when I was waiting for my eye surgery." "Really?" I asked dryly. "So long." "Yeah, so long, asshole," she said. "You don't know what it's like to be an ugly girl. And don't even try to say anything different," she said, immediately assuming I would try to deny or downplay what she was saying. "I'm a goddamn swan, and I'm going to fly tonight. Don't you dare hold me back." "I'm not trying to hold you back," I said. "Yes, you are," she shouted. "Yes, Rick." I looked at the speedometer and saw that the speed had reached 98 miles per hour. I hadn't even noticed. "Babe," I said as we slowed down. "We need to slow down before I run us off the road. We were going almost 100. "Oh, Jesus. Be careful, honey." "Look, let me say this," I said. "I'm not trying to get the last word in. It's not like that. But I didn't fall in love with you because of your looks, and I don't think you fell in love with me because of that either." "It's not." I always tell everyone who asks me, "You are, the coolest girl I know." That's what they couldn't find out about you back then. That was their loss. Just be yourself and show them how awesome you are. The hot part is just a bonus. "Really?" "Someday we'll both be ugly again, but you'll still be the coolest girl I know." "I don't deserve you, do I?" she asked, her voice trembling. Was she really wiping away tears? Hardly. I didn't really like the dress, but objectively speaking, it could have been worse. It was turquoise or aquamarine or teal or something like that, and as it should have been, it emphasized her thin, pale skin and brightened her gorgeous green eyes, but it was too short and showed more cleavage than I was comfortable with. Gloria liked it, however, and enjoyed the attention. All eyes were on her, and she was fearless about it. As I predicted, old cliques formed, but she navigated them with ease and pulled me along every time. As we approached the cool kids' table, I felt her tense up. "We don't need to talk to these people," I said, squeezing her hand. "Don't be afraid." "I'm not afraid," she said, and as I looked down, I realized she wasn't. She was excited. Everyone was cordial. There were air kisses and fake hugs all around, but as much as Brad, Dave, and the others were happy to see Gloria, they looked annoyed to see me. "Ulrich," Brad addressed me without giving me a hand. "Bradley," I replied, not extending mine either. "Did we cut the conversation short?" asked Gloria. "Not exactly," Davida replied tiredly. "She married Brad back in the day. Big surprise. They're preparing a big poker game for later. You remember them, I'm sure. The boys were such big card sharks back then." Oh, I remembered the big poker games for sure. They were held late on Friday nights, and only the rich or the cool were invited to play. Is it any wonder I didn't attend them? I'd never been invited, so naturally I always wanted to go. "Rick plays poker," Gloria said. "Why don't you let him play?" "Not for the faint of heart," Dave said. "I don't think he can handle it." "Don't worry. I didn't ask," I said, but everything was churning inside me. God, these guys were still assholes. He's a good, started Gloria, but I nudged her lightly with my foot to stop her. No need to let the cat out of the bag. What in God's name is wrong with you guys? Davida asked. It's a big buy-in, Rick. $5,000. They'll never budge, but if you've got it, of course you can play. Says who? Asked Roger Mayhew. All of us, replied the pretty woman, who I realized was his wife. I agree with Davida. What's wrong with you guys? I'm serious, it's nothing, I said, embarrassed. No, Brad smirked. It's going to be at 1:30 in room 615. If you can shell out 5, sure. You'll probably need more, though, because things can go downhill very quickly. This game is for the big boys. I don't know. Maybe you'll sell your car or something. Look, DePierrot, you have no idea what kind of car I have. I was starting to get hot. Thanks to Gloria's surveillance, I knew where we both were. He should have looked too. Maybe then he'd shut up. Hey, Bradley, that's not cool! Gloria snapped back, now nudging me with her foot. You're going to apologize to my husband right now. You promised everyone would be on their best behavior tonight. Don't ruin it before tonight even starts. I looked at her in surprise and saw Davida doing the same to Brad. He was looking at Gloria, and she was clearly uncomfortable. Have you two been socializing? I asked. Well, yes, she replied, shifting from foot to foot. Very unladylike. Davida looked interested, and Brad was looking anywhere but at us. Why? I just wanted to see who was going to be here. Oh, really? Asked Davida, but I didn't catch any subtext. Yeah, well, Gloria paused. It was nice to see everyone. We'll meet up later, okay? She pulled me aside and we walked around some more, saying hello to other couples and groups. Eventually, Gloria got over her nervousness and turned into her usual, lively personality. I think she was hoping it would all go away. I, on the other hand, had been silent and furious the whole time. Finally, I pulled her aside. What? She asked, seeing the look on my face. Don't tell me what. Why didn't you ever tell me you were talking to him? Well, Mr. High and Mighty, I wouldn't say we actually talked. We just chatted a little about the reunion. Anyway, it wasn't a big deal. Do you tell me about everyone you talk to every day? Mostly, especially if it's a woman. And especially if it's someone I hated and who tormented me all through high school. I don't understand you. Jesus, Rick, people can say hello, you know that. It's called the internet. I don't know what any of this means, I said. But there's something you're not telling me. We need to talk. Oh, talk, Gloria sang out. All we do is talk. Well, not right now. This is my night. You will not ruin it by throwing a big temper tantrum, you hear me? I just stared at her, perplexed. This was a side of her I'd never seen in over a decade, even when drunk. To say I was a little discouraged was putting it mildly. So, she said, let's have a nice night. We can talk until we're blue in the face tomorrow. You'll still be there. I was ready to explode, and she saw it. Okay. That was shitty. I'll admit it. It was inappropriate. And then her voice softened. Rick, I just talked to a few people to make sure they'd be here, that's all. Now let's you and I have some fun and be the belle of the ball. This is our night to shine. I wasn't convinced, but I let her lead me out onto the dance floor. She looked outrageous in her dress and we danced a couple times, but she seemed distracted. Usually when we danced it was just me, but now she was constantly looking around. Should we sit down? She finally asked. These heels are killing me. Sure, I said, and led her to a table. Our drinks had yet to arrive when Brad suddenly stopped by to join us. Can I dance? He asked, ignoring me. I was just about to tell him she was tired when Gloria jumped up and held out her hand to him. I'd love to, she said, leaving me sitting still and not even looking back. For a while I watched them. She wasn't looking around anymore. Now all her attention was on him. Can I sit down? I felt someone's hand gently touch my shoulder. Looking up, I saw Davida, who was smiling at me. Of course. Oh, you don't need to, she said, as I stood up to help her with her chair. Thanks. Do you need a drink? I do, she said as she waved her glass. Good to see you again, I said politely. You too, Rick, she said, noticing my eyes were fixed on the dance floor. There's something going on there, I said. I think so, she agreed. Unfinished business. How so? She's always had a crush on him, and everyone knew it. I didn't. All I ever heard about was how horribly he treated her. All the girls knew, she said, frowning. That was before you two got together, so why would they? Really, why would it be? I asked glumly. He found out and of course made her pay for it. What an asshole. Yeah, he was. Were you? Was it as awful as she says? I'm not proud of it, she said. But yeah, we all did. Why? Do you have any idea how much it messed up her whole life? I know, she said, kneading her hands. We were just a mob, like a pack of wolves bullying the weakest. I don't know why we did it. Everyone tries to keep it quiet on nights like this, but I was hoping to apologize to her. For everything. Oh, nice. But I can see she has her own plans tonight. Agreed, said I. She didn't see fit to share with me, except to say it's her night. It's her night. What exactly do you think this is about? I think, she said a little too loudly because suddenly the music stopped for a moment as the song changed. Some kind of DJ. We waited to see if the lovely couple would do another dance. And they did. They looked only at each other. Their conversation was animated and seemed very friendly, even overly so. She obviously became beautiful when that happened? Well, about 6 or 7 years ago, I guess. 7 years? I don't get it. That's enough time to adjust. She should be more confident in herself. She usually is. But this is the first time we've seen someone from around here, I said. Oh, that makes sense. Anyway, she's definitely beautiful now, David has said. And she wants everyone to notice that, especially Brad. Well, it seems to be working, I said grimly. It's not like she's doing dirty dances with him, but I wouldn't call it family cozy. Wouldn't be the first time, Davida said grimly. What do you mean? I asked, turning to her. He's... a lot, she replied sadly. I've caught him I don't know how many times. I've never once caught him in the act, but I haven't tried, honestly. On you, I said. He cheated on you. I'm sorry, but I find that hard to believe. No one would do that. You're one of the most beautiful women I've ever met. You look better today than you did then. The good news about them is that when I got pregnant, they came right away. They've been with me ever since, she said. That's why we got married. Got pregnant, I mean. Oh, I said. How many years? And here's the bad news, she said. I lost the baby before it was born. I'm sorry. That's all right, she said dismissively. It was a long time ago. I'm over it. But he did it, she returned to the subject, which I hoped would go away given the scene before us. Over and over again. Then why do you stay with him? I asked. I don't know, she replied. I guess because we were always expected to be together. I was kind of waiting for this reunion to see if we could rekindle old sparks, you know? Yeah? But he seems interested in rekindling the spark in someone else. Yes, my wife, I said, looking at the two of them, who were now too closely entwined in a slow pose. Do you think his hand is on her ass? Technically, I'd say he's still on her lower back, David has said. But do you want to cut in before he gets to her? I'd like to, I said, and we went to intercept them. They weren't talking anymore. Her head was resting on his chest in a classic romantic coupling. Mind if I dance with my wife? I asked, patting him on the shoulder. Actually, yes, he smirked. Why don't you beat her? You can have her when I'm done. What do you say, honey? I asked Gloria. She didn't even open her eyes, blatantly ignoring me, and pressed herself even tighter against him. I started to blush. I don't know why she saw fit to publicly humiliate me in this way, but it was getting to the point where I was no longer responsible for what I would say to her. We'd been standing like this for a while now, and if I had to leave the dance floor without her, I planned on leaving the room and probably the hotel too. "Let go of his goddamn wife, asshole!" yelled Davida, hitting him hard on the back of the head. They both hissed and scattered, and I grabbed Gloria's arm and pulled her back to our table, not too gently, it had to be said. "What the hell are you doing?" she hissed as we sat down at the table. "How dare you embarrass me like that?" "Me? Embarrassing you? Now that's a laugh," I said. "What are you playing at?" "I'm not playing anything," she pouted. "We were just dancing." "It wasn't just dancing. I think it's time for us to leave." "What?" she shrieked. "Just when I'm having fun, you pull the plug out of the socket?" "Nope. No way in hell." "Gloria, the way you disrespect me is reason enough to break up." "Are you stupid?" she hissed. "Our marriage can't handle a little light flirting? Are you that insecure?" "It's much more than flirting, and you know it. It's embarrassing." "Oh, a big man can't handle his wife being the center of attention. What a baby." "Whatever." "Baby," she sang out. "Wah, wah, wah." I just sat there staring at her in stunned bewilderment. What the hell was going on? Was she out of her mind? Was she high? Had she had some sort of developmental breakdown? "Thank you," I heard her say when the server finally brought the drink order. I took a sip and realized it was rum and Coke. So, an explanation. "Gloria, is this—" "Yes, Cuba Libres, my favorite. Brad ordered them for me. I made sure you got one too. You're welcome." "Ah, now I get it. How many have you had so far?" "This is my first one, Sherlock. You've been with me all night. When would I have had the chance?" "Leave it alone. Right now. We're getting out of here." I reached out to take her hand, but she pulled away and glared at me. "Gloria, what about your sobriety?" "That's up to me. It's my sobriety, not yours." "Then what about our marriage? I'm warning you, you're pushing it." "Listen, you bastard," she hissed, baring her teeth. "When we said our vows, I don't remember it saying you belong to me, okay? Stop patronizing me like that. I can drink what I want, I can dance with whoever I want. This," she twirled her arms, pointing to her body, "is mine, and I can do whatever I want with it. And you can either drive, or you can get out of my way." "Finally, an easy choice," I said, and got up from my chair. "No, wait, she shouted, making a movement to get up and follow me. "Please sit back down. Please, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry." I didn't sit down. I stood and looked down at her. "Just give it to me, okay?" she begged, looking at me hopefully. "Please?" "If it means getting drunk and slutting around with other guys, then no, I won't let you do that." "Slut!" "Let me," she wailed. "Who the hell do you think you are?" "Allow it, Jesus." "I'm your husband, in case you've forgotten." "And what are you talking about?" I asked. "Those are your words. You just said them." "Back off, do what you want," she snarled. "I'm staying." "No, you back off, do what you want," I snapped back. "I'm leaving." And I left, but I didn't go far. I was out of the room for a minute, but then I came back and stood in the back for the next hour or so, watching her get even more drunk, doing dirty dances with all comers, but always coming back to hang all over Brad and Dave. Especially Brad. No one talked to me for a long time. I think they were embarrassed for me and didn't know what to say. Who could blame them? But after a while, Kenny Kirk and Roger Mayhew came over and bought me a beer. I remembered Kenny fondly, but Roger couldn't understand why he wanted to talk to me, since he was part of Brad's circle. Looking around, I couldn't find Gloria anywhere. She was gone. I broke away from the two snakes and took the elevator up to our suite, but she certainly wasn't there. I sat there shivering and then decided screw it and headed to room 615. It was the only other room I knew. Someone was definitely in there, and they were having fun. I put my ear to the door, but couldn't make out who it was because of the noise in the room. I knocked on the door a couple times, but no one answered. I decided to sit and wait, feeling sillier and sillier by the minute. When a couple walked by and stared at me sitting on the floor, I realized I would be terribly embarrassed if it wasn't Gloria who came out. But if it wasn't her, where was she? Why don't we see what's going on in there, huh? Let me help you up. I looked up and saw Davida leaning over and holding out her hand to me. Where have you been? I muttered, letting her take my hand. Doing homework. Plus, I had to get this, she said, waving a key card. I'm not supposed to have it. This is the room for their big damn game. Inside, I had a dreadful wait and my worst nightmare coming to fruition. There was Gloria, leaning over a small round table, and standing next to her was Brad. They didn't even notice when I walked in. Who should I take down first? Brad was a phony, and Gloria. Gloria, I thought. You were supposed to be my one and only, my true love, and now this. Betrayal. We'll never find our way back, never. We'll never have children, never grow old together. But she was drunk. Very drunk. Drunk out of her mind. Maybe it wasn't her fault. Oh, the fact that she was a promiscuous attention whore is her fault. But is it my fault because I didn't protect her, no matter how shitty she acted around me? Shouldn't I have protected her no matter what? Shouldn't I have gotten her out of that situation, no matter how angry she was? This wouldn't be happening now if I had done that, if I hadn't been moping around. What kind of husband was I? Turning around, I saw Davida walking behind me with her cell phone in front of her, filming what was happening. What the hell are you doing? Snapped I. What do I look like I'm doing? She replied. I think we'll both need that later. Why? I asked, starting to move forward, desperate to keep them apart. Because it's not what it looks like, she said, moving closer so she could see the corner better. Davida? Wheezed Brad. Oh shit, how did you get in here? You're supposed to be with Hope and... She stared at him, and if there was a smile there, it wasn't the one I wanted to see. He walked out of Gloria, leaving her unceremoniously sprawled on the table. She still had the same dumb smile on her face. She was really, really out of it. Don't do it, Davida warned, grabbing my shoulder when she saw me moving toward Brad with murder in my eyes. Why not? I growled, trying to shake her off me. He'll destroy you, unless you've developed MMA skills you didn't have before. Well, what about you? She asked sharply. No, I admitted. A cuckold and a coward. Screw me. So get your wife out of here, she said. Take her to your room, but before you do anything, you need to talk to me. Yeah, okay, I mumbled, motioning to Gloria, who was slumped over in a stupor. That damn smile was still on her face. Shit. I picked her up and slung her over my shoulder. She was dead weight. Completely gone. Brad caught my gaze and lowered his concerned face for a moment to give me a look of smug satisfaction. Victory. I turned to leave, disgusted and ashamed. I'm serious, Davida said. She pulled a business card out of her purse and slipped it into my jacket pocket. Call me as soon as you put her down. I will, I said, as I walked out into the hallway, not intending to do anything about it. At some point, I heard a knock on the door, which turned to a pounding when I ignored it. Let me in, Rick, I heard Davida's voice. I'm going to make a scene until you do. I'm not going anywhere. Okay, I muttered, opening the door. You didn't call me, she said, and walked in, barely glancing at Gloria, who was snoring nonchalantly on the sidelines. I'm sorry, I said. It's hard, isn't it? She asked, reaching up to wipe a tear under my eye. Yeah. Well, I'm going to make it either better or worse, or maybe both, I don't know, she said, holding out a stapled stack of papers to me. What's this? I asked suspiciously. Instructional reading, she said. That's why I disappeared. I hope it was worth it, I said. If you'd been around, maybe none of this would have happened. It certainly didn't, she said, and that's exactly why I brought it. What is it? His messages. He thinks he's erasing them, but they never leave the server. It's a good start, but I only get part of it, so I have a spy app on his phone. A program that a private investigator installed for me. I've had it for a while now. I haven't checked them lately. I wish I had. Because... Sorry, Rick, just read them. But don't start from the beginning unless you want to see this whole sordid mess develop. It's too much right now. Just go to page 9 and start at the place I underlined. 9 pages? There are that many? What am I going to find in there? Just read it. Everything will be written there. And I'm really, really sorry, Rick. I really am. So what are you going to do? I asked, walking her to the door. Obviously, I'm not going to stay in our room. I wasn't going to. They're having a poker game, remember? They're still doing that? I asked incredulously. What? Stop the most important game in the world just because 2 marriages are falling apart? She asked, contempt oozing out. I thought you were playing poker, Rick. Apparently not. I was going to stay with Laura and Hope, but that's not possible now. Hope and I are going to talk, and with Laura, probably too. I have my own room, not that I'm going to sleep in or anything. Me neither. You know, she said shyly, you could come with me if you don't want to stay here with her. I think I'd like that, Davida, but... It doesn't have to be anything like that, Rick, she said, giving me a peck on the cheek and turning away. But it could be anything. If you want, you decide for yourself. I appreciate it. Not yet, she said, walking away. Just start on page 9. It won't make you feel better, but at least you'll know. After Davida left, I stretched out on the other bed and started reading page 9 like she said. When I finished, I started at the beginning and read to the end. She was right. It was too much, seeing what had happened, and she was right again when she said it was better to know. Wake up, I said to Gloria, trying to wake her up. She moaned. Come on, slut, I snapped back. We're taking you out of here. What? She started to move slightly. What are you? We're leaving. I don't want to, she said, and rolled over to go back to sleep. Shit. Okay. This was going to be harder, but she'd go anyway. Thankfully, there was no one in the lobby as I took Gloria up to the elevator and out to the car. The strangest thoughts crossed my mind. I tossed her into the back seat of my Lexus. It was night, and her skin was like ice. She was shivering from the cold, but I didn't care. I put her suitcase in front of me. If I'd put it in the trunk, I'd be reminded of the blanket we kept there, but I doubt I'd have covered her anyway. I glanced at the clock display and experienced a slight shock. It was only 12:15. One would have thought that Dawn would be coming any minute now. That would make the delivery process much easier, but I still needed to make the call. Hi, Rick, her mom answered after a few rings. I wasn't expecting to hear from you tonight. I know, Karen. I'm sorry, said I. I hope it's not too late. Well, a little, but it's okay. How was the reunion? We're still having lunch here tomorrow, right? I don't know, I mumbled. Look, I'm calling to warn you. I'm headed your way. I'm dropping Gloria off at your place. What? You're dropping her off? Why? What happened? She paused, and her voice grew harsher. She's not drunk, is she? Well, yes, but it's not... What did she do? Demanded Karen. She had fun with someone else, I said. I don't want to be with her right now. What did she do? Practically screamed Karen. I can't believe this. There has to be some explanation. Oh, there has to be, I said sourly. Don't worry about it. I'll be there in 15. She met me at the door. We didn't say a word as I carried Gloria upstairs to the spare bedroom and tucked her into the bed we'd shared so many times when we'd visited her in happier times. I saw Karen looking at her daughter in her crumpled dress. I started to walk out the door and back to the car, but she held my hand. Come back tomorrow, she said. You two need to talk. I don't want to, I said. We have nothing to talk about. She's only going to lie anyway. You don't know that, she said. You have to let her explain everything. You shouldn't throw everything away, 10 good years, because of one mistake. I didn't throw anything away, damn it, I said loudly. I didn't yell, but my voice was strained and she jerked back. I'm sorry, I apologized. I didn't mean to take offense at you. It's okay, she said, patting my arm. It's a tense time right now. Thank you. But please come back tomorrow. At 12:30, like you were going to. Do it for me, unless you want to do it for her. That's kind of dirty, Karen, I said. It's not fair. It's not like you. I know, she said. It just shows how serious I am. Please, let's go. Okay, I said. You win. But only for you. Thank you, she said, taking my hand in both of hers and squeezing it warmly. We'll figure it out. I've already dealt with it, said I. On the way back to the hotel, I noticed that it was not even 1 o'clock yet. Out of a whim, I stopped at an ATM near the hotel and withdrew $5,000. I had to shuffle things around and get a fine, but I got it. I hoped they would let me play. I took a shower, ate a candy bar, and drank some water. When you stay up late, it's always best to get a refresher. At 1:15, I headed to room 607 with cash in hand. We sat in awkward silence awaiting the arrival of the last player, which of course had to be Brad. When he walked through the door, he looked a little hunted, but at the sight of me he glowed. You're here? He asked and started laughing. What? I stole your wife and you came here to take my money or defend her honor or something? That's too rich. Just came for a friendly game, I lied. I think we've already established that she doesn't have any honor, so don't worry about it. I think you're scum for what you did, but I've always thought you were, so why don't we play? I don't think it'll work out the way you think it will, Roger said. We should just take your money and throw you out, but my wife would kill me. Well, you still have a wife who will kill you, so you're already a head taller than me, said I. Just a friendly game, huh? Don't worry, I'll leave as soon as they give me the all clear. I ruined the game for them that night. I would have done it anyway, even without our little drama. By forcing them to let me into the game, Roger's wife, Claire, as I found out, had turned it from a friendly game of medium stakes to a confrontation. They wanted me to leave, but they wanted my money too, so we continued on. The first few hands were tense, but after a while the old friends started talking nonstop, and it became like the good old days when I wasn't around, even when I was in the same room. Do you like poker? I do. I'm dying to tell you how the night went, to remember every hand, to overwhelm you with how awesome I was, but that's not a card story. I'll just say that there were 7 of us. Me, Brad, Dave, Roger, Kenny Kirk, who couldn't even look at me, and 2 other guys from their clique that I only vaguely remember from back then. We were gathered around the very table from which I had earlier dragged Gloria away. Thankfully, it didn't smell like anything. As I backtracked, I learned that in games like this, Brad usually cleaned everything up. I think he expected that to be the case today, but I was beginning to suspect that he had a card or 2 in his hand and started paying close attention. As the first game progressed, I was sure of it. He was preparing to lay out 1 card when I caught his eye. He knew I knew and hesitated to play, realizing that I had every reason to burn him. He was forced to play fair. I've played penny ante and seen players lose $75 each, so you better believe that the pot can easily get big if you buy in for $5K. These guys told a lot of stories about what great players they once were, but they either weren't as good as they remembered, which is entirely possible, or they were still drunk, which is also possible, or they didn't have practice. Most likely, it was a delicious combination of the 3 options. It had been a while for me too, but I was completely sober and hadn't forgotten a damn thing. Without his crutch, Brad turned out to be my favorite guy to play against. All heart, no head, forever harboring a grudge. He was easy to bluff and easy to manipulate, and anyone could read him from 10 miles away. By the time everyone had dispersed, the only one in front besides me was Kenny, who had racked up a more than decent 1,500 or so. Dave and a few others were barely on par or slightly behind, but the rest were behind me. And the best part? 22,000 of them belonged to Brad. There you go, Mr. Big Cush. What an idiot. His main trick, besides cheating of course, was to overcharge everyone. This group was inexperienced enough to roll over every time he tried that. I've seen this shit before, and flipped almost every time. I lost a few times that way, but 2 of them were monster banks. He kept making the same mistakes, not knowing how to get out of the game when he was behind. He made one ridiculous, impossible bet after another, trying to get even time after time, demanding double or zero side bets. This could cause him to start losing. "Hey, wait a minute," he muttered as we all started to leave the game. "You can't just walk out without giving me a chance to get my money back." "Brad, we're all done," said one of the others. Doug, I think. He seemed too preoccupied with making sure everyone put their chips in and got the right amount of money back. I think he was more remembering playing with Brad than talking. "What do you say, asshole?" asked Brad smugly. "Does it make it better that you ripped me off like that? It doesn't change what happened." "Of course not," I said, giving him my best grin. "But it sure helps. So give me another chance. One hand, you and me." "You've already had plenty of chances," I said, waving my money in front of his face. "I'm sorry, and besides, I don't think you have anything else to bet. I don't need your piece of shit car. Do you have a Rolex or something?" "No, but I do have one thing you might like," he said, grabbed his phone, and headed out the door. "I'll be right back. Don't get up." We all sat in another awkward silence. Poor Kenny still couldn't look at me, so I amused myself by invading his personal space, staring at him intently and watching him squirm. "She won't talk to me," Brad said as he came back into the house. "Dave, Raj, go down and get her. Bring her down here. Don't take no for an answer." "You mean we'll—" "Just take her, Lord." He turned to the others as they left. "Guys, is anyone else here smoking? Why don't we take a smoke break? Want anything from the minibar? The little bottles are still cold, and I think there's some beer in there." "I'll take some water," I said. "Sure you will," he said, tossing me one. "No beer for you." "It's almost dawn. I'm drinking water too," Doug said. "I think I should get going." No, wait, said Brad nonchalantly. He looked very comfortable for a guy who had just flushed 20 grand. "It's just getting started." A few minutes later, Dave and Roger reappeared, and both of them literally forced Davida inside. "Brad, what the hell is going on?" she screamed. "The only conversation we're having right now is through my lawyer. Why did you make those assholes drag me here?" She looked around the room with some trepidation, realizing she was a woman, alone in a hotel room with a bunch of guys, all of whom were friends of someone she was feuding with, until she saw me and visibly relaxed. She raised an eyebrow at me, and I did the same. I had no idea what was going on. "I don't know why I'm here, but you can—" "Shut up," said Brad. There was a threat in his voice, and it immediately backfired. It was clear this wasn't the first time he'd intimidated her. He was a big guy. "Do you like the house?" "What?" "It's a simple question," he muttered. "Do you like our goddamn house?" "It'll be my house before I—" "Just shut up," he said gruffly. "Sit down. I have news for you." She walked over and stood next to Kenny, who was sitting next to me. After a while, even he took the hint and stood up so she could take his seat. "Enrico and I have a big payment coming due soon, and we won't be able to make it because of little Ulrich," he told her. "The store will probably go bankrupt." "What the hell are you talking about?" "I kind of borrowed 15 grand from the safe before we left on Friday," he said. "For a game, which I lost." "You did what?" she asked in horror. "He's going to kill you, probably literally. How could you do that?" "It's not my fault," he said. "I always win." "You always cheat," I heard from somewhere off to the side. It must have been Doug. "So here's the thing," he continued. "Most of my half of the startup is a house." "A house?" she screamed. "How could you do that without my signature?" He remained silent. "Oh," she said weakly, tears streaming down her face. "I guess you're a cheat in more ways than one, aren't you?" "Relax, there's a way out of this," he said. "And that's where you come in. Here's my proposition," he said, looking at me. You and me, one hand, straight up. All the money you took from me against her. Her, I said. Me, she said. Are you out of your damn mind? What she said, I said. It makes complete sense, he said. I entertained your wife. Now you can entertain mine. You've always wanted her. Everyone wants one. I'm not your wife anymore, you piece of shit, she replied angrily. What makes you think... Wait, I said, touching her arm. Brad, besides the fact that you're totally disgustingly pandering to this nice man... Oh, she's a real... he began. Besides being disgusting, I interrupted him, I can't think of a single screw that cost more than $20,000. I'm sorry, Davida, I said, turning to her. You know how beautiful I think you are, but... I thought it was 15 and now it's 20, she said. You really are a loser, aren't you, Brad? And don't worry, Rick, she said, giggling. I don't think I'm worth that much. Maybe more than once, Brad said. Kenny Kirk, how much do you want for your time with someone who looks like her? How would I know? I don't do that, Kenny said defensively. Oh, bullshit, we all know you do, Brad said to the accompanying laughter in the room. I suddenly felt very sorry for Kenny. You may never be able to afford someone of her level, but you know exactly how much it would cost. Well, Kenny said, looking Davida over from head to toe. She's not so young anymore. Jesus, I'm 28, Davida said, despite the offense. Let me out of here. This is humiliating. 1,000, said Kenny. Seems about right. Okay, so you get it 22 times, Brad said. That's more than fair. That's crazy. There's no way I'd do that. Davida spat. I'm sorry, Rick. No offense. What? You're not going to let him treat you like a whore? I asked. I'd be offended if you thought I could do something like that to you. She smiled gratefully and patted my arm. You're both so cute, Brad said. But it seems to me, Davida, that you've already thought this through. If the store goes bankrupt, we won't just lose the house. I won't be able to pay you child support. I'll be on my ass too. You're going to have to get a real job. No more playing around with your little interior design. It's not a game, Davida said defensively. Uh-huh, Brad snorted derisively. How much did you make last year? You better reconsider this whole thing. I'm just saying. She probably wouldn't do it anyway, Kenny said. I know bitches like her, Rick. She'll turn you on to get your money back and then won't give you shit. Oh, so you're talking to me now? I asked sarcastically. Thanks for the news. I've got one for you. The water's wet. He lowered himself into a chair. I hated to be part of the group putting him down, but damn, the guy was insufferable and really involved in today's event. At least he was complicit, so there would be no mercy. Fair enough, Brad said. The payment isn't due until... He looked at his phone. 2.5 weeks from now. You won't have to pay me back if she doesn't. That's enough time for you to get them in time, but not too much time for you to get sick of her. It took me a lot longer than that. God, what a moron you are, roared Davida. I can't get rid of you fast enough. And here's another thing, babe, he said. You might not even have to do that. What? You're just collateral. He might lose, and you won't have to do anything with it. But he has to know you will, or he won't argue with me. And if I lose, you still have to do it. Otherwise, it's not a bet. But it's between you and him. I won't bet with you anyway, I said. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun, but I think I should be on my way. I wish we had never come to this stupid reunion, but we did. I wish I'd never seen any of you again. I don't mean you, Davida. You seem really nice. I hope everything works out for you. If you want me to help you leave. No. Wait. Please, she said, grabbing my hand and looking into my eyes. Rick, you can't just... I don't know, she whispered. We spent a moment there, probably short by most people's standards, but it felt like a lifetime and a nanosecond at the same time. I could do that for her. Okay, I'll play you one hand, I said. That's just great, Brad said, glowing. Okay. Why don't you sit over there? I'll sit over here. Raj, do you want a bargain? Sure, why not? Replied Raj lazily, suddenly becoming Mr. Smooth. He, Brad, and Dave crowded together at the end of the table, creating a united front. On the other side stood an empty chair for me. I didn't like that. Everything was fine. God, these guys were terrible poker players. They couldn't hide anything, especially Roger. But there's one thing, I said. Doug, would you mind taking my jacket? It's over there on the chair. Could you take the deck of cards in the outside pocket? I think it's on the left side. I bought them at the liquor store before I came here. Cards? Asked Dave. Yes, I said. I think we should play this hand with a fresh deck, don't you? Since so much depends on it and all. He and Brad exchanged glances, but what could they do? Gotcha. Seriously, dude, Disney princesses? Complained Doug, unsealing the new deck. Hey, it's either this or My Little Pony. I'm not an armadillo. I waved it off. I don't even know what that means, David said, but Kenny knew. It was obvious. I don't know either, I said. We smiled at each other, and the game began. Brad couldn't seem to win a fair game, or Lady Luck wasn't with him. Whatever. My full house beat his straight. He was only one card away from a straight flush, but it was too bad. So sad. I can't believe it, he said sourly. Well, you deal her, and when you're done with her, we'll arrange for you to wire me the money. I don't owe you any money, I said. And I never have. What? It was a deal. She's in it for the money. Brad, have you ever gambled before? Doug, who had stopped being a member of Brad's fan club at some point, asked. It wasn't her for the money, it was her against the money. You lost a lot of money. Then you put something else out and lost some too. Boom. End of story. Let's go, Davida said quietly, taking my hand. I never want to see you again, Brad. Don't come to this house. No matter how long we keep it, you're not welcome here. Let Hope and her sister come and take your shit. Hope? Yeah, I found out about that too, asshole. Maybe her husband will let you stay with them. I'll ask him for you. Davida, Just shut up, she said, and we walked out the door. Your room or mine? She asked. Of course it's yours, I said. Mine has a crumpled bed that smells like her. We sat down in 2 chairs in her room and stared at each other. After a couple minutes, she got up and picked up 2 bottles of water, holding one out to me. So what are you going to do? She asked. What? About her. Ah, I said. We're almost done. It's over except for the screaming. Are you sure about that? You've been together a long time. You're perfect for each other. You think? Snorted I. Well, that's one woman's opinion, and it doesn't match hers. I don't think that's true, she said. I think she got into something, and it got out of hand. That's about it. No offense, Dee Dee, I grumbled, but you were willing to accept a lot more than I was. The plans she had, the things she said in those messages. How can I forgive that? You can forgive but never forget? She asked, smiling. It's just a cliché, and why are you smiling? I was starting to get frustrated. It's not funny. I don't find it funny. Oh, I'm sorry, she said quickly. That wasn't it. I'm sorry. Well, then what was it? You called me Dee Dee. You've never done that before. You never let me. That's not true. I never knew you well enough, I said. You were up there on that pedestal, the queen of the prom, and I was down here. There's no Dee Dee here, just Davida. I need to apologize to you too, I think. No, you've never done anything to me. You've always been good to me. I just didn't pay attention to you, said I. It's not your fault. I'm not going to do that, you know that, I said. Do what? Nothing. I'm going to give him his money back. If I could split it up so it wouldn't affect you, I'd nail him in a second. But I'll never be able to live with myself if I hurt you with all this. Oh, Rick, you're just the sweetest person, she snorted. But you do what you want. No. Seriously, you can. I'm not at all as worthless as he makes me out to be. He just likes having me in his arms. And yet, no, I'm serious. I admit I'm not doing well here, but that's only because it's here. I'm actually pretty good. I have a degree. I have contacts. I'll have plenty of opportunities if I move to the city. That's exactly where we are. I see. Correction. That's exactly where I am, I said. Damn it. I need to start thinking about things differently. Take your time, Rick, she said, getting up and sitting down on the bed next to the chair to hug me. It's going to take time. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. What's your secret? I asked. I guess we're in the same boat. Not even, she laughed. My ship sailed a long, long time ago. I've had 6 years to come to terms with it. Wow, 6 years. I know. Don't say it, she said. You don't have to. I know I'm weak. I'm a coward. I should have left so long ago, but I was afraid. That's hard, I said. I'm not judging you, I promise. And I've had serious job offers, she defended herself. Plenty. I believe you. I can make some calls and have a job, no, a career, by the end of next week. I won't be entry level. That's great. I just need to move to the city. We sat in silence, each immersed in our own thoughts. So, she said. So? 22 times. I told you we weren't doing this, I said. Then why were you playing? She asked. I thought you wanted me to play. No. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, well. She looked intently into my eyes then. Oh, no, you did it to get me off the hook, didn't you? You were trying to get it all back. For me. Yeah. But it's such a lot of money. And it hurt you so much. I shrugged. And they also say chivalry is dead. She leaned over and hugged me tightly. Then why did you play the prince's cards? They tried to deceive me. A man has pride, you know. After tonight, you don't think so, but... Oh, that's so, she said. So it came out that way then? Well, I smiled. I can't make him win. I see. I see, she laughed. You're amazing. You think so, don't you? I laughed back. So, back to the argument, she said. I told you not to worry about it, I replied irritably. It was never about that. You don't have to do it. What if I want to? What? I've always liked you, Rick. Right. No, really, I mean it. Oh, tell me. I had to smile. Since when? A long time ago, she said. Please tell me you remember how I used to bow down to you all the time. You shouldn't hurt a girl's pride like that. Of course I remember, I said, smiling at the memory. It was one of the highlights of my life back then. Just then? She pouted sweetly. No, it still is. But didn't you do it for everyone? Absolutely not, she replied resentfully. I admit I teased the jocks a lot, but who else did I do it for but them and you? Kenny said you did it as well as... What's his name? I saw him this evening. And oh, Pat Lowry. They're liars. I never did anything for them. Never. Then why me? Honestly, Gloria started it, she said, embarrassed. You were so sweet, so brave to be there for her when so much shit came down on you. I really admired you for that. I started paying attention to you and realized how kind and funny and smart you were. So let me get this straight, I said. You were impressed with the way I treat Gloria, my girlfriend, and you were teasing me to pay attention to you? I know, she grinned. I was young, okay? I didn't know many ways to let a boy know I liked him. This was my way out. And what do you do now? I asked, smirking back. Pretty much the same, she said. Maybe my vocabulary is a little better. She leaned toward me and left her face in that position, making the choice for me. I leaned in and we kissed. Would you go out with me if I asked you to? I asked. I don't know, she replied. Honestly, who can say? So many things had to happen for this to happen. Oh. It sounded like she let me off easy, but even now, 10 years later, it was still a no. But I know I like you. I know it's probably too soon, she said, but if it's not. I didn't have to think about it, not even a little. It was over between Gloria and me. Not too soon, I growled, and after a few moments we got down to it. After a while she asked, "What's your schedule for today?" "I don't really have one," I said. "I have to go to her place at 12:30. I would have brushed it off, but I promised her mother I'd be there. And I have to get home for work tomorrow, so I have to get out of here no later than, say, 8:30 or so." "It's a long way from 12:30. Here's what I'm thinking. We're probably both hungry, but that can be put off for a while. I think we should have some more fun, and then you'll go to your meeting. Then you'll come back here and take me out to eat." "Sounds good." "And somewhere nice. A little birdie told me you have enough money to take me to a nice place." "Smart bird, but he's got a big mouth. Maybe he can help you choose." Next chapter. "I thought maybe you weren't coming," Karen said with relief as she opened the door. "Sorry I'm late," I said. "I should have called. I didn't mean to be so inconsiderate." "No problem," she said. "We're just glad you're here. It's in the backyard." When I saw Gloria, I knew she had come prepared for war. It was warm in the backyard, and she was sitting at a glass table wearing burgundy shorts and a purple and white knit top. "Hi," she said uncertainly. "Hi," I replied monotonously. However, the overall effect of the outfit was somewhat diminished by the rings under her bloodshot eyes. She had a little makeup on, but it couldn't hide the crumpled expression on her face when she was severely hungover. I'd seen it many mornings and afternoons before her DUI. She was definitely in pain. Good, because I was too. We sat there looking at each other, and as the silence dragged on, it became clear to Karen that this wasn't good. "For God's sake, you two," she said. "This is just ridiculous. You're here to talk, so start talking." "And you're staying?" I asked. "I want her here," Gloria said. "You can be scary when you're angry." "I don't mind," I said, turning to Karen. "I didn't ask you to leave." "Honey, why don't you start?" "I want to," Gloria said. "Rick, I'm so sorry." "Are you?" I asked. "Yes, Rick, I'm really, really sorry." "For what?" I growled. "For getting caught having fun with that guy? For the fact that I saw you having fun with him? Or for the way you humiliated me and embarrassed me in front of 100 people?" "For everything, everything," she said, embarrassed. "I was an idiot. I take full responsibility. Well, almost full responsibility." "Almost," I said sharply. "We both know I have a problem," she said. "I shouldn't have had that first drink. Everything went downhill after that, and I couldn't stop." "Really?" I replied. "I seem to recall you were hanging up on him and treating me like complete shit long before that first drink came along." "I know," she said. "I was completely out of control." She leaned forward. "But you know what I think?" "Tell me." "Someone must have slipped me something," she said conspiratorially. "Before this, I mean. That's the only way I can think of why I'm acting like this, don't you think? I mean, it's not me. You know that." Wow. From a tactical standpoint, I felt it was too early to play that card. You'd think she'd kiss my ass first. "That makes sense," Karen put in. "Why else would she act so weird?" "Yeah, why?" I asked. "Well, let's get you to the hospital and run some tests. Right now. If there's something there, we should press charges." No, said Gloria quickly. "I'm sure it's all out of my system by now. I wish you had picked me up last night. Besides, what can I prove, even if it was there? No one saw it." "And I wasn't having fun with him," she said with conviction. "You weren't having fun," said I. It wasn't a question. "I think Davida has a video on her phone that says otherwise." "There's a video?" she wailed. "Oh God, Rick." "Don't worry," I said. "You won't be talked about all over the internet, even though you deserve it. It was filmed by a woman for proof, not some scuzzy type, though I'm surprised he didn't put any spin on it. I guess we'll find out." "But that's the point," she insisted. That asshole. You saw me. I wasn't even there, not really. I didn't even know what was going on. You know how I can be. Hey, and I don't? I asked sarcastically. Where have you been? She sobbed. I know I screwed up, but where did you go? You just left me there all alone. You let those guys take advantage of me. You're my husband. You were supposed to save me. Save you from yourself is what you mean. Oh, that was priceless. So it's my fault? No, she paused. That's not what I'm saying. I take full responsibility for how it started, but you should have been there, Rick. We both made mistakes. I know I did, I said. I admit it. Good, she said, breathing a sigh of relief. So we can... But before you say anything, wait a minute, I said, standing up. I forgot something. I'll be right back. Where are you going? Asked Karen. She seemed to think I was going to run away. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere, I said. I was supposed to bring something. Just let me take it. As I ran to the car, I thought about what Davida had said earlier. I didn't care what her motives were or where we were going. She had done me the biggest favor of my life. Gloria was so sure of me that she didn't even try to gracefully articulate her ramblings. She just came at me with gun in hand as fast as she could. Spin? Damn, she was a chopper. What's this? Asked Gloria when I returned and dropped a stapled stack of papers on the table in front of her with a dramatic clatter. Oh, this little thing? It doesn't look like it, Gloria, but it's a rope. You just hung yourself with it. Take a look, I said. This is the entire history of your text conversations with Brad. That's what... Wait a minute, what? Everything, Gloria. Davida had something on her phone. Go ahead and look at it. I pushed it toward her, but she recoiled from it like it was poison, which, well, it was. Tears ran down her cheeks. What's going on? Asked Karen. What is it? I think Davida called it educational reading, I told her. Let's turn to page 9, which is where she told me to start. I think that's a good place to start. No, Gloria whispered, starting to cry even harder. And you think we can really do this? Asks Brad. And here is my loving wife's answer. I know we can. How? He asks. I'm freaking out. I have to be on top of things. He won't like it and we'll fight. If I treat him like shit, he'll leave. He always has to cool down so he doesn't get too rough with me. Find a way to keep him occupied and we'll have all the time we need. Will that work? Yeah. If you knew the shit I do. He's used to it. I'll have to kiss his ass for a while, but it won't last. He'll be pissed, but he'll get over it. And we'll have fun. Yeah, but what about DD? He'll be taken care of. As Hope will take over. I? Because I'll stop practicing with her if she doesn't. Hope too? You're so bad. And you know what, Karen? There's a winking emoticon at the end, but wait, that's the best part for me. They discuss the details for a few more lines, and then she says this. But if we get caught, you take the blame, dude. I'll say you covered for me, and then I'll put the blame on him and make it his fault. I've always done that. Me? You're the one who started it. Don't worry. I'll make sure he doesn't come after you. I can handle him. I know, love. But can you handle me? And that's the end of it. Gloria, is it true? Asked Karen. She refused to answer for a long time. I sat staring at her impassively with my arms folded. Okay, yes, she said. I know it's bad, but Rick, baby, we can get through this. I love you, just you, I swear. It's just Brad. Brad, he... And she started crying again. Just tell us, honey. I have to hand it to Karen. She must really love Gloria if she started coaxing her after she found out what a manipulative slut her daughter was. I was interested in listening to it myself, just for the tick. Brad was always the one I could never have, she mumbled, coming to her senses a little. He was so beautiful, and he was so awful to me. I just wanted him to want me and realize how stupid he was, how he should have been with me all this time. So you never loved me, I spat at her. Of course I love you, she said, trying to grab my hand. I pulled away. You're my one and only. You always will be, I swear, but it was just, I don't know. I guess he was the one who got away. Oh, Gloria, Karen said. It didn't start out that way, Gloria defended herself. At first, I just wanted to make sure he saw me, saw us, and he'd just eat his heart out, you know? But then I saw his picture in Davida, and he still looked so good, and she's so beautiful. Well, I just realized I couldn't compete. I think what she's trying to say, Karen, I said, with a strange mixture of amusement and annoyance, is that I'm the reason she couldn't compete. I'm not good enough to make Brad jealous. She'd be embarrassed of me. Wouldn't she? She didn't say anything, but the tears came rushing back. But you saw the messages. You saw him working on me, she insisted. He went on and on about how I'd beaten you, why I was with you, and how he was sure you didn't appreciate me. This is all bullshit, I said. You're the one who started it, not him. The fact that I'm not pretty? That may be true, but everything else? I idolized you, Gloria. I know, she said. I knew it even as I bought into it. And then I had a plan for how I would let him do it. I would humiliate him. You're in the sun? Karen asked. A guy like him doesn't care about things like that, just as long as he enjoys it. You always bragged about being a great judge of character, honey, but you acted like a naive, spoiled little brat. I know, Mom. We can go to counseling, Rick. It was just a silly infatuation I let go too far. It didn't mean anything. It was... Don't go there, slut, snarled I. Don't you dare say it was just sex, if that's what you're getting at. First of all, the sex between us was special, or at least I thought it was. It was supposed to be just us, our whole lives. I know, Rick. I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. Leave it alone, I cut her off. Even if it's true, what about those messages? The ones where you put me down, bragging about how easy I was to manipulate, how stupid I was. That's not what I meant, darling. I don't want to talk about it anymore. And don't call me sweetheart. You have no right to. You're a manipulative slut. I'll never be able to trust you. I'll never trust you again. Rick, Karen gasped. Stop it. Stop talking to her like that. I know what she did was awful, but can't you see how sorry she is? I'm sure you two can work things out. You've been together too long to... And that's another thing, I snapped back. What about fidelity? Gloria, I never, ever told you about the shit I went through for you in high school because it would hurt you too much, but you had to know about some of it. Everyone, and I mean everyone, wanted me to kick you to the curb because you were such a big, dead bastard. I was already screaming and I finally realized it, so I took a deep breath and toned it down. And this is how you repay me, huh? And you said you were planning this even before your eye surgery. No, said Gloria in horror. No, that's not true, dear. I just meant that I planned to come back looking gorgeous, that's all, I swear. Leave it alone. Like I'm going to believe anything you say, I grinned. You're a liar and a cheat. That's exactly how you started this conversation before I busted your cheating ass. I'll never... Stop it! Karen wailed. Stop it, both of you, right now! I can't believe this is happening. You're finally ready to give me grandchildren. Can't you two just... Oh, grandchildren, I grinned, picking up the folder again. Maybe we should tell her about our kids, Gloria. Please don't, she sobbed, dropping her head in her hands. Please stop. Oh, no, 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 I said. Let's look at page 11, near the end. Let's see what it says. Are you sure? That's Brad asking. I'm sure, Gloria replies. I haven't had fun with him in a week. He should be open to you. I'll try to hold him off, and if you have strong swimmers, you'll have a better chance. I want to have at least one beautiful child. After that, he can give me several, but I want at least one. And with him, you won't get that. What are you thinking? Look here, Karen, I said, showing her the paper. See this? That's the smiley face symbol with the tongue sticking out. See? Can she humiliate me anymore? Oh my God, Karen said, looking at Gloria in disgust. Actually, she might, I said. I'm lost here. I can't find it right now. But somewhere in here she says she's going to try to give him 2 chances to reunite. And if that doesn't work, she's going to try to meet him halfway to make sure. Will you stop it? Sobbed Gloria. And she says that if the baby is particularly beautiful, maybe they can get together and make another one in the future. He says how pleased he'll be to know I'm raising and paying for his child, and she replies that secrets are hot. You just beat me like a punching bag, didn't you? I growled, spinning around and getting in Gloria's face. Karen leaned back in her chair and to me looked just as beaten up as Gloria. I love you, I said, walking over and kissing the top of her head. I hope we can talk soon and I can thank you for everything, but I can't be there for her. I think you understand me. No, I don't think you can, she replied dejectedly. I'll leave it to you too, I said, putting the papers back on the table. I'm sure I can get another copy for the lawyers. Wait. Rick, how am I going to get home? Asked Gloria. How am I going to get to work tomorrow? I don't know, I don't care, I said. And when you get there, you won't stay in the house. You'll find a slutty girlfriend to live with, or get slutty with a bunch of guys. Who cares? The locks will be changed by the time you get here. This is my house too, asshole, shouted Gloria. I paid as much as you did. I put as much time into it as you did. Don't mess with my head. It's going to be very ugly. Ugly, H.A., said I. Excellent choice of words. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Driving back to the hotel was hard. Sure, I did burn her, but so what? The love of my life was a cheating, manipulative woman who thought I was too ugly to be the father of her children. I may have won the race of life with Brad, earning twice as much, certainly in a better open field. But when it all came out, he turned out to be the winner, just like before, and only because he looked so much better than me. I liked her, a lot. But Davida was no Gloria, who, no matter what, always remained the coolest girl I knew. Nothing would ever change that. I'd have to learn to appreciate other traits in Davida if things were ever going to work out between us. She liked me, though. She wanted to see something more and was willing to try, even with the horrible baggage we both carried. Maybe it wasn't just a rebound. Who knows how cool she could be after we'd been together 20, actually 21 more times? And it was still 21. I tried to tell her that it was down to 15 or 16 now, but she said we should count by sessions, not by how many times we'd had fun. In her opinion, we were still in the middle of the first session. That was very cool of her, don't you think? The end. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, so subscribe to my channel and watch the next video.